So, Kristi, I'd like to segue to some solutions or
Mhm.
ways that people can help because I firmly believe in planting the seed. And I mean, for me in my own life, I could see God was at work even a decade ago, planting the seed that one day we would become foster parents and ultimately adopt. But I think what people really get confused on is that reunification versus the adoptive
Mhm.
kid. Now, there's tons
Mhm.
of kids in the system today who are legally eligible for adoption,
Mhm.
and at South Dakota Kids Belong and America's Kids Belong too. That's the first place I send people because
Mhm.
there's kids. Their profiles are there. Can you talk about these kids' profiles and kind of how they're created, and
Mhm.
just the general who these kids are and how parents might be able to step in to be a forever family for those kids?
Yeah. There's a small percentage of kids in each state that are legally free for adoption. So they're in foster care. The rights of the parents are terminated. And so they're waiting for a forever family, for someone to adopt them. They're not working on reunification anymore. There is no reunification plan anymore. And so these children, these youth, we, you know, I would say, yeah, it's a small percentage. However, these kids, maybe foster parent decides that they don't choose to adopt the child. Maybe there's some reason behind it. They're older, whatever, or maybe they're living in a facility, a group home. And so, what we do with America's Kids Belong, with South Dakota Kids Belong, is we have an MOU with the state of South Dakota to have these kids come to a video shoot. And we want to advocate for them. We want to say, hey, this child needs a family, and we want to connect them to those families that are interested in adopting. A lot of times these kids are kind of unseen. Nobody knows about them. They think, oh, they're in foster care. That means that they're working on reunification. And most of the time that's the case. However, these kids, that's not the case for them. And so we don't want them sitting in foster care and then they end up being 18 and aging out and never having a family. And so we work with DSS, and we let them know when we're having a video shoot. We do 6 video shoots a year. And in that, we have the kids come. They're each sibling group that we're having come, or each child comes for an hour. And we just let them play and have fun. We try to get their personality showing. We have therapeutic dogs there. We have fun games, different things that they like to do. So we want to see them smiling and just being a kid. And we have 2 great videographers that are there, just following them with their camera and trying to capture all these great moments. And then we have them sit down and do an interview. And we ask them, what do you want in a family? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What are you hoping for in a family? And so then they share a little bit about what they want. And then we take that footage of that hour and we put it down into a 2 to 3 minute video, and then post that on our website, on Facebook. We show it at churches, and really we've received so many inquiries on these kids, and some of them have gotten adopted through that process, and it's a really neat thing. So
Chris, you said something I want to follow up on. How involved is the church community in connecting the need?
You know, I wish I could say they're really involved, but they're not as involved as I think we could be. I call churches on a regular basis, and one of the first questions I ask just to get in the door in that phone call is I say, "Do you guys do anything with foster care?" And I've never had any church say yes that I've talked to on the phone, and
Well, it
so
stands to reason that the church community and individual churches would be very much a part of letting their parishioners know where the needs were.
right. And I think where the gap is just that connection of
Hmm.
working with the Department of Social Services. And so I think people have the desire, they want to help, they want to care for these kids, but they might not know how to, and how to get involved with foster care without becoming of some want to become foster parents, but then some maybe aren't wanting to fully step into foster care, but they want to support and help, but they don't know how to do that. And so what we do with South Dakota Kids Belong is we bridge that gap between the church and the Department of Social Services to say, hey, this is how you can get involved, and this is how it works. And so we're working on doing that. And the church is the place to be caring for these kids. This is God's heart to care for vulnerable children. So
I want to do this before we go to this break. And I recognize that you work in South Dakota and you're focused on the 1,500 kids in South Dakota. This is being heard outside of South Dakota. Where do you suggest people go to find out more information about what you just brought up or anything in this regard? Is there a website we can promote that has a kind of a universal play?
You can go to americaskidsbelong.org, and that website will share lots of different information. If you're looking to adopt a child, there are tons of there's states on there that do just what we do in South Dakota, and there's kids that are legally free for adoption, and they can inquire today on any of those kids. Or if they want to learn more about becoming a foster parent, they can go to americaskidsbelong.org.
Mm-hmm. All right, we will take a break now. We'll come back and finish this up with a very essential discussion. I believe Amanda Radke has brought us one of the most essential discussions we've had in the history of Rural Route. 400,000 kids need some love. What are you going to do about being a part of the solution? That's where we'll pick it up when we return. Rural Route after this.
Are you a parent or teacher looking for accurate resources to teach kids about where their food comes from? Consider checking out my books at amandaradke.com. These stories highlight the men and women who provide us with the essentials of life: food, fiber, and energy. Beautifully illustrated by Michelle Weber, these books are a work of art and they have an educational message as well. Find them at amandaradke.com.
Welcome back, y'all. It's Trent Loos, Rural Route, Amanda Radke, Kristi Woolsey, our guest, coming to us from Belfouche. I randomly pick up a cup every day, just, whatever. Look what I randomly picked up today as my coffee mug.
If folks want to watch a foster care movie, one of my favorites is Instant Family. It's a little more modern.
It can't be better than the Cowboys.
Well, it actually probably changed my life because my husband, we had looked at foster care before we had kids. We were facing infertility. And so we'd started researching that avenue, went to our first meeting, and a week later found out I was pregnant, had 3 kids. So they were 4 and under, very stressed out, not even thinking about foster care. And folks have probably heard my story about this, but one day my husband came out of his office very uncharacteristically, and he said, "Amanda, we need to do foster care." And my immediate reaction was, "You're crazy. Absolutely not." And I got on an airplane the next day to go speak in Georgia. And on the plane that day was that movie, Instant Family, which is about a family who takes in 3 kids and it changes their whole life. And so I'm on the plane bawling like a baby. I'm sure everyone thought I was a lunatic. And I get off the plane and I called my husband and I said, "Yep, I'm in." And he says, "What are you talking about?" I said, let's do foster care. Get home from that speech a few days later, we called our local DSS, social services office, and said, "How do we get started?" Or we'd like information. And they said, "You're in luck. The Mitchell classes just started last week. You can jump on in." And so we had no time to chicken out or get cold feet. We were thrown into the deep end. And even before our license had arrived in the mail, 6 months later, we had our first 2 kids. And so the need is great. And I would highly recommend Instant Family. And another thing I wanted to say before we talk about how people can get involved is if folks go to americaskidsbelong.org and watch some of these profiles of these kids, because that's exactly what I did. I just started watching them all and seeing their stories. And what was amazing to me was I just thought, how brave are these kids to go get on a camera and try to sell themselves as like, "Oh, I want to fit into a family. I want love." That's got to be incredibly hard. Is that what you've seen with shooting those videos? Is it pretty difficult for them?
Yes, it is difficult for them. And what's hard is, I don't know. I just think that when they come, they know that that's why they're there. They know that they're informed on that beforehand. and then them coming and sharing about what they want in a family. It is, some of them, are in tears during the interview, just sharing that they just want a family, over and over. And we ask the same questions, and just what do you want in a parent? And a lot of times the kids just say, I just want a family. It's just like, I just want someone to love me and care for me and provide a safe home for me. That's all I want. And so it is difficult on the kids when they come. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go check out those videos and see if it changes your heart, because it changed mine for sure. So Trent says he doesn't want to be a foster parent, but he could help in other ways, which is what I really wanted to talk to you about today, was this RAP program. In South Dakota, I know our governor, Kristi Woolsey, has been a huge champion for foster care. There's new initiatives coming out, like the RAP program that helps to support foster families. I know the burnout rate is incredibly high for foster parents. So how does the RAP program work, and how can folks like Trent step into this space of foster care without becoming licensed foster parents?
Yeah. So wraparound is an interesting thing. We set up teams around foster parents. We've just found that a lot of times foster parents, when they take in their first placement, it's really difficult to kind of know how to, do everything, like the visitations and court dates and all the things that come. You have to take them to the, get their eye appointments and different things when they come into your home. It's very overwhelming. And so what we say to people is, maybe you're not called to foster or adopt, but maybe you're called to do something. And so we set up teams around foster parents. We try to set 5 families around each foster family. And these families are saying, hey, I'll do something once a month for 6 months. So we ask a commitment of 6 months, and that they would do at least one thing each month. And that can be providing a meal for them that month. It could be doing respite for them that month. It could be helping them organize their home. We ask the foster parents, what are your top 3 needs? And then we go from there. So if they say, we would really appreciate someone to watch our kids so we can go on a date at least once a month. Then we try to find families that will provide respite for them and put those families around them. And some families just really want specific things. Like, I need help with lawn care. I have so many kids. Getting the lawn done every month is just really hard. So can someone come over and mow my lawn? And so there's lots of different needs that they have, but most of the time foster families say they want respite care, and and meals are super helpful. Now, immediately, what people say when we say these things is that, well, don't they have their own money to take care of these things? Can't they afford that? And yes, they can afford it. You can't be a foster parent if you have, you have to be able to care for all your financial needs. But this is not a financial situation. It's more of an emotional support. We want to say, with a box of diapers on their front doorstep, we want to say, hey, we're thinking about you, and we appreciate you caring for the kids in foster care in our community, and thank you. So it's just kind of it's more of an emotional support type of thing rather than a financial support. They can buy their own box of diapers. It's just their community saying, hey, we're behind you, and we want you to keep going, because we need people to do this for our kids.
Amanda, you mentioned a foster parent burnout. How severe is that?
Well, Kristi might know the numbers, but I know within 1 year you lose a lot, and by year 5, there's like hardly any left that would have been trained and licensed. And I mean, life changes, and so either they've adopted and they're moving on, or a global pandemic hits and they think life's too stressful, or just, they didn't have that support. I know one of the most common comments that we got as foster parents when it was hard, because it can blow up your life for a little bit. It's the kids experiencing new things, and so are you. And I would get the comment very often, well, you brought this on yourself. You asked for this. People's solution would be, don't take in foster kids if you don't want your life to be chaotic. So that, there wasn't support. But, there you felt like, oh, people don't even see what I'm trying to do here. And even in my church, they didn't even, foster care was like a foreign concept. So that's right. I do think the wrap thing comes into play. I'm doing my own research here on Rural Route because I got a call from a state worker that said, "Would you start a wraparound team in Mitchell?" And I said, "What's that?" And so I just said, "We'll put Kristi on the air and she can tell us." That's my next question. How do you get started? So the Mitchell community, for anyone local to Mitchell, South Dakota, we need one. How do you get started? How do you get churches plugged in?
I'm assuming every community needs one, Amanda.
Well, yes, I think that's the point too. Is
But
everybody?
we'll focus on all Mitchell all the time for you
Yes,
today.
I mean that's how I like it.
I mean, it is our urban center in the concept today.
Yes.
So it's,
The city folk demand
Kristi,
attention.
what can we do for Mitchell, South Dakota? That's the question of the day.
Well, so we'd like to start a wrap team in a church. One essential need that we have is a wrap leader. So that wrap leader is the person that coordinates everything with the foster family and then also with the team. And so we need a leader. The leader is background checked, they're trained, and then that person goes out and coordinates all of this. We have one down in Yankton, and she's just amazing. She's got 5 wrap leaders that she's training and walking alongside 5 different foster families with. And so we need leaders. And we have wrap teams that are not in the church. We just find that they're not as, because when you have a church community, when you have a church body of people and they see each other every Sunday, it kind of keeps that accountability, like to check in and and they all know each other, to say, hey, what are you doing for that family this month? But if if it's just like people in the community and they don't know each other that are on the team, a lot of times that team just kind of falls apart. And so we seem to have the best kind of outcome is when we have a team that comes from a church body. If people want to get involved, they can go to strongerfamiliestogether.com, and then you can find WRAP, W-R-A-P, and they can sign up to become, learn more about wraparound. I will call them within a week's time and get them signed up for training, or maybe they just want to be on a team. So we can get them on a list when we do have a leader to lead one in Mitchell or wherever. One thing that I want to say is, so you had asked about the percentage. I would say nationwide, around 40 to 50% of people after they receive that first placement will stop fostering due to lack of social support. And so it is when we can get them past that first placement, and provide that support for them, usually people are going to stick in doing it longer. But when you have a team, so you have that one foster family, you put the 5 families around that foster family. There's so much more that I think people need to see, is that first, we want to make sure the foster parent feels seen and appreciated. That's what a lot of foster parents say, is I just feel unseen and not appreciated. So we want them to know that they're seen and appreciated. But the last 2 pieces are even more important. Those kids in their home are why we're wrapping around them. The kids that are in foster care, and that child is in foster care because they have no healthy person in their life. They don't have a healthy adult that can take them in. And so that foster parent is now their most healthy person, adult, role model in their life. Well, we want to build that village, just like it takes a village to raise a child. We want to build that village for that child. And so we want to put 5 more healthy adults around that child that's there at their baseball games and supporting them and caring for them and doing different things for them. And so we're going to build that village by providing a wrap team for them. But then also, when you provide 5 more families around this foster family and they're seeing the child on a regular basis, they're having the child in their home, that's how you recruit more foster parents. Foster parents, when they it's an unknown thing in your mind that's super scary. But when you see the kids on a regular basis, it's like, well, that's a normal family. They're not special. They're not superheroes. They're not doing something, so it makes them consider, well, we could do this too. So we have a wrap team that started in Mobridge, South Dakota. We had 4 families that were supporting one foster family, and now we have 2 of those families that have recently got licensed. And so it is contagious. Like if you become on a RAP team, most likely within a couple of years, you're going to become a foster family.
And how appropriate is it that we talk about being a part of a RAP team as Trent brings the rap to this discussion? We've successfully journeyed down the road connecting rural and urban America. For Kristi Woolsey, Amanda Radke, I'm Trent Loos, reminding you that all roads do lead to a rural route.
Hey, friends. The saying goes that freedom doesn't come free. And without the brave men and women serving our country to protect our freedoms and liberties, everything that we love and hold dear in this country would be for naught. So to thank the troops, would you consider buying them a steak? Check out the All-American Beef Battalion. Since 2007, the late Bill Brody and his team of volunteers have served over 400,000 steaks to the troops and their families as a way to say thank you. Learn how you can get involved and support this organization by checking out steaksfortroops.com.